Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks interesting to you, please carry on and watch the video. And also, just one more thing before we go. Please, if you enjoy the video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. But with all that out of the way, let's carry on with the video. Okay, so with our Grog miniature here, you can see that I've already primed it up and I've given it a zenithal highlight prime. I'm just starting off with black and then coming from above with a white, so we can see where those nice highlights and stuff are to keep in mind as we're painting along here. So as you can see, I've started off with some uniform grey here, which is sort of a blue-grey colour, and I'm going to be using this for his skin tone. So Grog is a half giant slash Goliath, so he's based on sort of a half-breed of a stone giants, and they have very greyish skin. So rather than just going with straight grey here, I've gone with a sort of bluish grey, so we've got a little bit of colour to play around with, and it's going to be great for his base skin tone here. So it's just a matter of coming in and painting up all the areas where we can see his skin exposed, and since he's a barbarian, he's got a bunch of that flesh exposed with his nice rippling muscles, so make sure that you get in between all those areas as well. Then once we have that base coat of his skin complete, what we're going to do now is come on with some dark sea grey, which is a lighter grey than our uniform grey that we've been using here, and it doesn't have that blue tinge in it. So it's going to give us our highlight colour, and as like I said before, we're going with a highlight colour, so we want to be aiming for the highlights. Since he's got so many big bulging and rippling muscles, he's got a lot of areas to place highlights on, which is going to be great for us, especially if you're practicing your highlights. Here's a great miniature for that, with like muscle forms and stuff like that. So as you can see, I switched to a slightly finer tip brush so I can pick out a lot more of those muscles that are bulging out, and so I can catch a lot of the raised areas in them. And it's just a matter of coming around the model, looking for those areas where you can see those bits of muscle are popping out, and we can pick out the highlights of them. Then once we have that highlight layer complete, what I'm going to do now is come in with some matte black, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking out the tattoos that Grog has on him. So in this miniature, they are actually lightly sculpted on the actual piece itself. So what I've done is I've switched to my finest tip brush I've got, and I'm just carefully trying to pick them out. And as you can tell by my genius filmmaking here, that I've made it completely out of shot so you can't see what I'm doing. So you'll see here as I slowly get it to eventually focus in, that I'm painting up just the areas where his model has it, where it's got like a slight hint slash indentation of where his tattoos are. So you could easily fill it with a wash if you wanted to here, but I'm going with the trying to paint it up and practice my technique skills, especially on very, very fine work. So I'm sorry I couldn't get this to be a little bit better for you, but it's a lot of concentration here, and I didn't even notice that I'd lost so much focus on here, but I'm just trying to paint them up, so sorry about that. Okay, so now you can see a little bit of what I actually painted up. I also painted in the eyes here as well, and now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to move on with the dark brown. I'm going to be using charred brown for this, and what I'm going to be doing is picking out Grog's beard. Now, I am also concentrating on this so hard that I don't notice that it go out of focus again, so I am sorry about that. I'm definitely focused on this miniature and I was not paying attention, since some of these details are so small. But just to let you know that I've used a very small fine tip brush again to pick out his areas of his beard. Okay, so now let's see, while I'm applying this wash that I'm going to be applying here, dark tone, I can keep the camera in focus and we can actually see what we're doing here on screen. So as you can see, I have the beard painted up, the eyes, as well as the tattoos around his body, and I actually managed to keep the miniature a little bit in focus this time, so you can see what I'm doing here. But it's just a matter of going around all these areas and applying the wash, making sure it doesn't pull too much in any of the recesses, like especially the eyes. We want to pay attention that we're not pulling in the eyes there. I'm trying to avoid the areas of placing the wash. But like I said, we're just being careful and making sure that we get the wash we want to. Okay, so once we have that wash all completely dry, what we're going to do is come back in again once more with our dark sea grey. I'm going to use it for the highlights once more, so this time being even more selective and just placing the highlights in a little bit smaller areas and just focusing more onto the areas that would naturally hit the sun. That's going to show off those nice big bulging muscles that'll catch the light and really help make this miniature pop out, especially from a distance. So just a matter of coming around here with a nice fine tip brush and picking them out. And as you can see, once again, getting that thing out of focus, so it's super hard for you to see what's happening. Then once we have that skin complete, we are then finished on all that area. So now we can start moving to another area of the model, and I'm going to be using necromancer cloak to do this, and this is going to be for his pants that we've got here. So nice, very dark grey, brown grey essentially, so it's not going to be showing up exactly the same as the already dark greys we've been using for Grog himself. As well as that too, I just forgot to mention that the colour that I used for his beard, the charred brown, I also used that to paint up the base of his axe as well, to the handle there. So don't be afraid to paint that into while you're painting up the beard. It's just I forgot all about it, and then it was too late to place it in that part of the video, so I just added it in. Then once we have those pants painted up, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to come in with some khaki, and I'm going to be using this for his boots. So Grog here has some nice lightly coloured boots with the rest of his colour palette, because like I am trying to do here, I'm trying to follow his colour palette as much as I can with the colours I have available to me. So as you can see here, nice light colour for his boots. So we're actually going to really make it stand out quite a bit, but we just want to be giving them a good overall coat. Then once we have his boots painted up, what we're going to do now is come up with some cavalry brown, and this is a reddish brown, and you can see when I place it next to these other dark colours around here, it looks really red, but in person it's a bit more brown than it is on camera. Red could also be another viable option to place here if you wanted to as well, and it's just a matter of I'm painting sort of his loincloth that he's got here in front, giving a nice strong visual area on a piece to look at on the model that's separated out from a couple of the other colours. But it's going to help tie in, because like I said just before with our boots, I'm trying to follow his colour palette that you see him have in his artworks in various media. Then once we have that all complete, what I'm going to be doing now is coming in with some mahogany brown, and this is going to be for all our leathered strap areas, all of his bits of leather armour that he has all over him now. Totally up to you what you want to do here. Use any brown in any order around here. If you wanted more darker leather straps rather than lighter ones like I've done here, you could easily switch and swap these colours, no problem. All I'm trying to get across here is you just want to be using some browns here, separating them out slightly different so you can see these areas are slightly different. It helps add so much more to the model. Then with all those leather strapped areas painted up, what I'm going to do now is come in with some skeleton bone, and this is going to be used for the skull that he has on his shoulder here. Now, it's part of his armor. Totally up to you if you want to paint it in as a skull color. I know it's sort of part of his armor. I'm not quite sure if it's supposed to be a skull or if it's just supposed to be some decorative piece on his pauldron there. So you could go with metal or even just carry on with the leather, but I wanted to make it stand out, add a bit more color to the piece, and make it look like it's a real skull that he's collected there and placed on his shoulder. Then once we have that complete, what we're doing is getting some metallic now, and I'm going to be using weapon bronze for this. Grog has nice weapons all covered in bronze, not his weapons I should say, his armor he has covered in bronze there, which is great. Gives it a nice color to separate it out from the just being usual sort of steel slash metal color, sort of your generic sort of silver. So I think bronze is a great color to spice it up with, and it's going to really help make some nice colour to the piece. As well as that, I'm also, as you can see, painting up his necklace here. So it's just a matter of going around, picking out all these areas with armour, his gauntlets, his nice big belt he's got across there, and picking out those areas with our weapon bronze. Then once we have that complete, what I'm going to be doing now is coming in with some deck tan here. Now deck tan is sort of creamish slash off-white colour, and I'm going to be using this to be painting up all of the fur trim around Grog. So he has some around his gauntlets, around his boots, around his nice big sort of wrestling style belt that he has around him as well. And it's just a matter of going in very carefully. If you need to, switch to a smaller brush to do this. I know I do it at some points off camera. I switch to slightly finer brushes and got some very fine areas on some of those points, but it's just a matter of going around and picking out all those nice fur trimmed areas. So then once I've picked out those fur trim areas, what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to come in with some metal colour and matte black, and I'm just going to be adding that black just a teeny drop into our metal colour here. So for me, I'm using oily steel on this, but any metal colour will do here, any sort of gun metal colour will do. And I'm just adding that tiny drop of black to darken it way down. I want to have this as sort of like a deep sort of shadow colour and really help try and switch up my style a little bit with painting my metal colors, trying to add in a little bit more flavor. So I don't know how it's going to turn out, but hopefully it'll turn out nice here, and just coming up with another sort of variation. I think Grog's axe is a perfect place to try it. It's one of his nice big signature things, and it's a nice big prominent piece on the actual miniature, as well as out and picking out the little hammerhead that he has on the side of him as well there, so don't forget that when you're painting up his axe. So once we have that black and steel color, and then now I'm just kind of coming straight in with our base steel color. So for me it's oily steel, for you maybe gunmetal, whatever you've got that you had available, just the base color of it. And then now I'm coming in and I'm just placing in a highlight, and as you can see I'm going with sort of the top point of the axe. It's facing up more towards the sun and going to be catching that light, and I'm just carefully placing it in and skimming it along the top of those nice detailed areas, and just placing it on sort of the top half of the axe, and really making sure that, as you can see, since we placed that black in there, we've got a nice big bright shiny piece where it's going to look very, very shiny and adds a little bit of interest to it. Then once you have that area picked out, what I'm going to do now is come in with shining silver, very, very, very bright silver, the brightest one I have, and I'm just going to be skimming that along the edge and placing an even smaller highlight towards the edge there. And what I'm trying to do is give it off like it's got this big massive shine on the edge of it to really help sell it as a nice big prominent shiny piece of metal, and just trying to add in a little bit of variety. The metallics I've been doing lately, and I've been wanting to try and improve a little bit and get some nicer looking metallics. Then once you have that axe completed, I'm just coming in with a nice quick step here, just grabbing some seraphim sepia or any sort of sepia wash, and I'm just going to be using it to be placing on that skull, because like I said, I wanted to make it like he's killed this monster and kept his skull as a trophy, so just giving that a nice good overall wash. Okay, so once we've done that, what I'm going to do now is come in with another wash, and this one's going to be Agrac's Earthshade. Now, Agrac's Earthshade I'm going to be applying to everywhere we haven't applied a wash before. So that's basically everywhere except for the skin and our skull here. So giving it all over the pants, the weapon, the arm. Actually, I didn't end up by using it on the weapon. I sort of forgot about it, but I ended up liking the result anyway. So totally up to you whether you want to place some on the weapon here as well to try and blend it in a little bit. But I didn't, and I quite liked the effect that it just had off. But I have it here already, so basically I didn't add in anything else to the axe, but just giving a wash over to everything else. And of course, when you're applying a wash, be careful of pooling in the areas you don't want it to. Then once we have those completed with our drying times, what I'm going to do now is come in with some skeleton bone once again, and I'm going to be using it for the highlights of the skull on his shoulder. So just nice, quick, easy highlights. And as you can see, I've gone back to my concentrating mode, and since I'm in concentrating mode, that means no seeing what I'm doing for you guys, so sorry about that. Okay, so more highlights again now, and this time we're coming back in with our deck tan, and of course this is for the fur trims that we have on everywhere, and I can see here that I've switched to a smaller tip brush, so you might want to do the same thing as well, and just very carefully picking out the tips of all those little bits of fur. It's going to be a nice tedious process, so don't be afraid to take your time here and really get into it, and it's going to really help sell the fur effect from a distance. So spend a little bit of time here and really make it pop out on the table from a distance. Then once you have that complete, what we're going to do is some more highlights now, and this time I'm going to be doing with cavalry brown. And as you can see, I'm just using my same fine tip brush here, and I'm just going to be picking out the ones on his loincloth area, and this one's actually quite nicely sculpted, and it's nice and easy to pick out those highlights. So a nice easy step here to come in and pick out those highest points where the sun would naturally hit. Then once we have that complete, what I'm going to be doing now is coming back in with our weapon bronze, but this time just adding just a little bit of shining silver to it, so we've got that nice bright bronze areas for our highlights. And it's just a matter of coming in and picking out all the nice raged areas on Grog's armor, and picking out those areas where the sun would naturally hit here. So once we've got this, and you can see I've got that nice fine tip brush again, so I can pick out all of the nice sort of intricate detailing he has on some of his pieces, especially like those little eyebrows and his nose and stuff on that nice big shining belt he has on his body, making sure to pay sort of a little bit more attention to that, so I've got those nice areas to focus on in the center of our model. But with that complete, that leaves Grog done, so all you need to do is base him up how you want. So I'm like how I've done with the rest of my miniatures here in my Critical Role line. I don't actually give any of the main characters a base, I just paint them up on a nice simple black base. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. But let's move on to those glamour shots and see how we came out like. And with all that complete, we have finally finished painting up Grog Strongjaw from the Critical Role line of miniatures. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, whether you want to follow along with what I did here, or you just want to use this video as some inspiration in painting up your own miniatures. But with all that said, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.